Well, hello there. It's the Eagle, and it's June the 3rd, and I've got the Keith and Gail show tonight. And tonight we are discussing AI and what will happen in the future. So, welcome, Gail.
Hello, good evening, Keith. How are you doing this evening?
All right, thank you. And I forgot to put the applause, didn't I? So, I will do that. So that's just to welcome you to the show tonight, then, Gail. So,
Thank you.
have you been out filming before we start the conversation?
I went out to do some photography over the weekend. I didn't take as many pictures as I liked, but it was a thoroughly beautiful day in London. So I took a few shots. I did some street photography. There was some sort of cyclist convention in London, so I managed to take a few shots of that. And I did a little bit of street photography, but not too much. So, Keith, for this evening, what exactly are we talking about this evening?
Artificial intelligence, and we
Okay.
all know what that means. It means that artificial intelligence is uh, these scientists or these data nerds are programming computers so they can recognize speech, they can recognize typing. They are going to be used in a vast array of industries. So I've been reading about really
Mhm.
interesting facts about some of the things, that AI will be taking over car production. I mean, at the moment, it's well into car production. It's going to take a lot of jobs, in the medical industry, where they're even talking about little nanos or whatever that can go in the bloodstream and repair uh, cancer or get rid of cancer, target cancer cells and everything like that. So I mean, the future looks rosy on those type of things. But there again, you've got the dark side of it that criminals are going to be taking over. There's going to be a lot more fraud and scams because you're going to find it harder to know which is a scam or fraud because AI can really improve what these criminals are doing. So,
Mhm.
what's your thoughts on AI then at the moment, Gail?
I think it's kind of one of those subjects that has, as a child, you always watch. I was always fascinated with shows such as Tomorrow's World, and you'd watch things like Star Trek, or you'd watch Doctor Who. And there was always something interesting on those scenes. So you'd have K9, who was a dog with Doctor Who. You'd have um, other characters who, you had the telepathy in Star Trek. You had like in the modern version of Star Trek, you had Data, who was, an android who wanted to be human. And I think, and obviously you had RoboCop, the movie. You've had iRobot, another movie, uh, which explore the development of artificial intelligence in relation to the practical uses of artificial intelligence, and then in a sort of apocalyptic viewpoint, highlight the concerns that have been raised, the ethical concerns that have been raised in relation to it. So it poses numerous questions in relation to mankind and the future with mankind. Those are my thoughts.
Yes, that's what I've been reading about today. That it's the future. They reckon that if they carry on with AI as it is, it will eventually take over the human race. And that's the dark side that I believe a lot of people don't really want. That I think AI is very, very good in most circumstances, but like everything good, people can use it another way. And that is the problem with AI. I mean, we've had AI around for quite some time because, I mean, like Siri is AI. It listens and it can search the net for answers, uh, like Google Assist can. But it's how quick it's come on in the last, what, 12 to 18 months. It's really been developed. And a lot of these people that have been developing it have really put the issues up about how it can all get out of control. And that is the worrying part that worries me. And it should worry a lot of other people, really. You know, I mean, if you do your research on AI, the things that it can do now, I mean, it's as Gail says about, you know, we could have robots in the home doing the cleaning, the washing up, uh, looking after people in nursing homes or old people's facilities that they can do the menial jobs. You've got these vacuum cleaners that can clean up that you just set them off and that's it. So some aspects of AI are really, really fascinating. It's the other side that really we ought to get into a little bit more. So, uh, what else have you got to say about this, Gail? Then,
Well, I think in relation to artificial intelligence, we're looking at some degree of accountability. So, with anything that's a progressive technology, who's taking account of any developments in relation to it? Because at the moment, I think that human society is somewhat surprised about the advances in technology. And there is a perpetual fear that technology is getting ahead of the human. And if artificial intelligence can self learn, then the fear of that is that artificial intelligence will seek to take control measures. There was an interesting article, whether or not this is true or not, I don't know. It's to be confirmed. There was a rumor on the internet that suggested that a rogue robot, along with four others, had killed 29 people in Japan. And this one robot had downloaded software off the internet and self repaired themselves before ultimately being destroyed. Now, whether or not that rumor is true or not, highlights and brings up some questions. There are already robots being used in defense. There are already goals of, like, you've got that robotic dog that helps in dealing with different environments and situations and carrying heavy payloads. You've got the drone technology, which is advancing significantly. In Japan, which is the lead of robotics, you've got robotic bars, robotic hotels, robotic hospital, robotic carers in hospital that can read body temperature and be company for older people, which is kind of something similar. Years and years ago, you had that, I think it was Tasamai or something, this
yeah,
little key ring, and you'd look after this little key ring. And that was kind of a novelty years ago. So now you're looking at the technology and thinking, oh my goodness, this technology has now advanced 100 times further than what it was 10 or 15 years ago, which I find incredibly interesting.
same here. You know, I mean, when you look now at the amount of AI, what it can do, especially in the media, you know, I mean, you can uh, AI now can edit a video.
Mhm.
It can edit a script. It can give you ideas for uh, YouTube channel for your YouTube channel. Uh, so that's a brilliant side of things because I mean I have used Chat GBT to uh, research and do things, and give me ideas for upcoming videos. Also, interesting conversations, because we're going to hold these conversations every weekend, hopefully, with Gail, if she's available. One week on her channel, the other week on mine, hopefully, because Gail wants to get regular into live streaming. And this is why we thought, well, we'll have this conversation about AI this week. Next week, I don't know what the conversation will be, but we're going to try and make them interesting, where we try to get people involved. The one thing that I really should do from now on is advertising on my community tab, because we've only had a couple in. No one's put any messages and said hello. So, but we don't mind, because there's always a replay, I believe.
Yeah, I think this is just about provoking a conversation. So if people do watch on the replay, hopefully they can make their own have their own voice heard, and offer some opinions about their thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's go back to some of the points you covered, Keith, about
Yeah.
artificial intelligence in relation to writing videos, creating video scripts, creating shorts, doing edits for you. In some ways, if you look at that, the role of the editor very soon will be defunct, because
Yes.
we will go out filming and have artificial intelligence to create our films and offer up ideas from the learning they get from us as individuals.
Yeah.
Now, my issue with that, herein lies the question: am I somewhat, by using artificial intelligence too much, giving up too much of my individual creativity? And if so, where does that leave me as a content creator in years gone by, in years to come? Because obviously everybody's going to start using ChatGPT and becoming far more productive, which means that a very small creator, which is what I am, will subsequently disappear off the platform, because nobody will watch me, because I haven't been ChatGPT researched, or ChatGPT analyzed, or ChatGPT, will, or Google will run the analytics as if a computer has done them. And it's getting very smart anyway now at the moment, because I'm really fascinated that as soon as you have a conversation about, are you still there, Keith?
Yeah, I'm still here.
As soon as you have a conversation about something, and as soon as you what was I going to say? As soon as you go on the internet and look up stuff, when you go into your Facebook page or your YouTube page subsequently, and I don't know your thoughts on this, Keith, you find adverts in relation to that subject.
Yeah, you do.
Have you
Very
noticed
much
that?
so.
Have you noticed that? I'm sorry, I've lost my
Yeah,
monitor for some reason. So if you carry on
yeah,
talking, I'm going to carry on having this
yeah,
conversation with you.
yeah. Yes, I have noticed that. That what it picks up on. I mean, it's like now when you go on YouTube, YouTube recommends what you seem to like
Yeah.
because of AI. So AI is learning all the time,
Yes.
and this is the problem. That are we feeding these supercomputers too much information, where eventually they are going to make independent decisions on their own without someone putting the program in? And especially on the military side, that's the bit that scares me, because I mean, you've mentioned two or three films, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film where he was a robot from the
Yeah.
future. Um, that scares people. I mean, it was a fantastic film, but when you look, we're not that far away from these supercomputers, AI, artificial intelligence, creating things where it can make decisions for itself. And because it's all right, I know it's not a human being and it doesn't have empathy, but they might want to survive, and they will find a way. As I forget what that film was, where it says uh, that computers will find a way to overcome every problem. and that means even if they're switched off, they'll find a way to stay on.
Well, I think the issue you clearly have is that doomsday scenario, whereas humans we're making specific decisions, but being computers, they have subsequently learnt and adapted and will start making decisions which override human decisions. And in that instance, if they learn enough, they will self-learn to override any human interaction, and it will work purely off computer interaction. I think there was a movie about it in the 80s or 90s called
Yeah,
War
yeah,
Games. I
yeah,
don't know if you remember that movie, Keith, the movie War
yeah,
Games, where they
yeah.
he hacked into the computer and had to sort it out. Why is this gone? Let's see if I might get
Yeah,
my
you have frozen on the stream. You've been frozen for the last 3 or 4 minutes, Gail. You know, so
Okay,
I
Keith, what I would do if I was you is I would show me off camera and we'll
yeah,
still have this conversation anyway.
yeah. So Gail is still here, voice only. So, but yeah, I've just been thinking that a bit of research that I did today, they reckon that AI will never take over because it would need a lot of them, a lot of supercomputers to be able to do that. And at the moment, because they're all individual, excuse me, all individual computers. Hello, Tony. Nice to you to drop in. Thanks a lot. That's why at present, because they're not talking to each other, as far as we know, there will never be a supercomputer that would take over. So that scenario could not happen at present. So what's your thoughts, Gail, on that?
Elon Musk. Why did Elon Musk suggest that we need to be looking at our strategies for regulating supercomputers and artificial intelligence in case we doom ourselves to our own destruction? And why are AI academics suggesting that computers have the capacity to network and take over? Because if you look at intelligence, AI, and you consider this is a self-learning platform, surely they will self-learn enough to develop networks which humans don't know about.
Yeah.
So they could develop covert AI networks in a system which humans might not be able to trace because they've set a, they've relearned stuff. I mean, if you think of the concept of coding, well, a lot of humans are able to code and they use computers and artificial intelligence to help them do that. What's to stop artificial intelligence writing and developing a superior code, which allows them to do things that we didn't think possible?
Yeah, definitely. I see Tony's put Google is AI and listens to everything. Yes, it does. Google is learning all the time. Definitely. That is something that I agree with you on that, Tony, because even Siri or Echo, Google Echo, is it Alexa,
Yes.
learn from what we say and what we do. Hello, Southern Cross. Thanks a lot for joining us on this conversation. I don't know what your thoughts are, Southern Cross, on AI or the future of AI. Same with you, Tony. What's your thoughts on the future of AI? Do you think that it's good for humanity, or do you see the dangers in it? I'd love to know in the chat if you could put it up. So
I was going to say something as well. Tony, we were discussing that earlier on about Google listening to everything. And it's quite intriguing when you start doing searches for things on the internet. So if you say, for example, search for deodorant, I always find the next 5 minutes, if I go into Facebook or I go onto YouTube and the ads come up, the ads will be that product, or they will be suggesting things that you've looked at. It's quite I quite like CoffeeZilla, and every time you go into CoffeeZilla, the first thing that comes up on the adverts is for investment, even though he deals with investment fraud, because he knows they know that would be the audience that are watching. So Tony said there are dangers. What do you think, Tony, the dangers are?
Yeah, because there are many dangers. I mean, I was reading something again earlier on about the deep-minded. Said that there is a possibility that AI could become self-aware one day. This means that AI would have feelings and emotions that mimic those of humans. Well, we know what humans are like. We are the only species on Earth that enjoys killing things. So, would super computers, AI, do the same? And Southern Cross has just put up, we are in such an early state of development with the technology, it's hard to say what the full spectrum of impacts, positive and negative, there could be.
Yeah, Southern Cross, I totally agree with you. I think we are in the sort of early days of the impactive nature of AI. We are in an era where we see all of these amazing capabilities. We've got robots working in car factories, hotels, working in hospitals, working in airports, cleaning up airports. They can be utilized for building cars. They can work in bars. They can work as waiters. I mean, I think there's an estimated 800 or 300 million jobs that are going to be lost to artificial intelligence in the next 5 or 10 years, which is a really interesting perspective. But I also think we're so early on in the development of artificial intelligence that only time will tell what the risks are.
Yeah, and Tony's put, if a computer detects danger, it will protect itself already as a self-repairing computer, which has been stopped. Yeah, agree on that, Tony, that they will. And Southern Cross has put up, right now, there does seem to be some benefits, really trivial at the moment, though, in my humble opinion.
Well, I
Yeah,
think I think we're on that journey. Sorry, Keith, I'll let you go in a
yeah,
minute. I think we're on that journey of we're at the beginning of a new dawn. Um, as I said, there was a article out in all the newspapers the other day that world leaders, as well as Elon Musk and other academics, were saying we need to look at artificial intelligence and the danger it presents. I do feel that because we're in such a preliminary stage, we're beginning to understand what computers can do for us. But I think there is I don't know if that's a universal fear, but for me, it's an individual fear that I am scared of the future potential for AI. And as Tony said, to self-learn, to protect itself, or make a artificially intelligent risk assessment to destroy nations by declaring war without the consent of human beings.
yeah. That's the bit that really scares me. That side of AI, when AI can make those decisions independently of human beings, because
Mm,
we all know how frail human beings are. Uh, Human beings cause all the problems on this world, wars, because of greed. Uh,
mm,
are, is AI going to learn from that? And we've got Tim's in the room. Hi guys, I've just watched Jeff Taylor, who was talking about AI and the dangers of military drones run by AI and turning on the operators. Well, that's interesting, that Tim. I haven't read anything about that. The AI on drones might even turn on the on the drone operators. That's
mm.
interesting. And Southern Cross has put in, I think the tendency to think of AI as an entity might not be factual. So, what's your what's your views on that then, Gail?
I think it's what you're saying is if you think of it as an entity, i.e., a person with a soul or whatever, yes, it might be airy fairy. It might be that we're airy fairy, but what? Because I think iRobot examined the subject of a robot having some sort of conscience. It's also been explored in the Star Trek with Data and his whether he had emotional attachments or not, and whether or not robots will self-learn or develop a conscience. But contrary to that, whether they develop a conscience or not, what I would consider a robot to be is an instrument that self-learns by gathering facts and information and making the best possible decision. But the way that artificial intelligence learns may be logical, and it probably won't be moral. And therein lies the issue between the issue of human morals and and that's, you can't measure kindness and things like that, empathy. So humans, robots don't have that kindness and empathy. That's manufactured within them. So therefore, they don't have a conscience. They don't have a grasp of what's right or what's wrong, only what's programmed into them. So if they suddenly have made an intelligent decision based on information, all of the emotional, moral decision making will go through the window, and they will be making information based risk decisions solely based on information and not the moral responsibilities that the human race have, is my view. But I don't know what you think, Keith.
Yeah, well, Tony's just brought up a thought there that I've been thinking about. He says, but with the tech, will they move your soul to the robot? As we've seen in films before, that where they put the consciousness of a person into a robot. Would that be possible? I don't know. The way they are going, it could well be, but would that be 10 years away? Would it be 50 years away? Because we know the mind's made up of electrical signals. So, but
Well,
are those
I
sig-
think, I think it's really, this has brought up another subject now about, I think it's called cryogenics, when
yeah,
a freeze bodies for hundreds of years in the hope that they could, reinvent them. And if you look at the advances in technology about growing cells and manufacturing cells and stuff like that, then you're looking at, well, could we take, say, for example, I know it sounds Frankensteinish, take the brain of, say, I don't know, Einstein, and place it within a robot and let the robot learn, or
mm,
people who have suffered body injuries, their brain going into robotic body, and then like Steve Austin, the $6 million man, like
yeah,
kind of that sort of thing. And then you're thinking, well, will the technology take over? But it seems to be that they are growing cells, and they're growing different things now. They're starting to grow different things. So I think in years to come, there's going to be an awful lot of surprises that occur. I mean, who would have thought, 50 years ago we could clone animals? you know
yeah. Agreed there, Gail. Yeah, because I mean, the advances in technology and what man can do in the last 50, I mean, who would have thought that, what is it, just over 50, 60 years ago, we'd have a TV in the corner of the living room at a price that everybody could afford?
yeah.
Uh, you look at the technology in hospitals now, most of it is machines that are doing the research, finding things, like the uh, I forget what they are now. That you go in to take an X-ray of your body,
Mm,
and everything like that. MRI scanners. That's what. Yeah, the
yeah.
mind just went then. And you look at the what AI can possibly do in the medical world. as I said earlier on, about creating nanos or whatever they are that can get into the bloodstream and go to the root of the cancer instead of chemicals,
Yeah.
which will definitely benefit humankind. So that's one of the positive. The other positives of AI, I think, are that because it learns, it can we can learn from that.
Yes.
So I don't know what your opinion is that. What's Tony put?
There's a,
Already,
there's a, oh yeah, there's
robot
sorry.
arms, legs, hearts have been used. Yeah, agreed, Tony. Sorry, Gail.
Yeah, Southern Cross has said it's really just a tool limited by what human minds create it to do. Think of a calculator, been around for ages, taken for granted by students, capable of astounding mathematical feats. Yeah, I know. I think, but the thing is that a calculator is set. Like when the calculator was invented, it was set to solve problems. The difference between the calculator and doing those calculations is that that's the only set thing that the calculator was programmed to do. Nowadays, it's going to be learning from that problem and then forming a hypothesis to solve another problem. And that is what interests me, is that is or scares me, is that even though we don't think or can actually imagine what machines are capable of, if the most intelligent people in the world and high-powered leaders are considering we need to have a conversation about the risks of AI, there are things in the background, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, never have been. There are things in the background that we clearly don't know about, that they've already been considering.
Yeah, yeah. I've just been a bit more research I was doing this afternoon was
Mhm.
Goldman Sachs says that humanoid robots could be viable in factory settings between 2025 to 2028.
Yes.
So you look there, how quick they are developing these things, and as you said earlier on, Gail, especially in Japan, Japan is at the forefront of robot manufacturing. It, I believe
Yes.
so. You said,
Yeah, I mean, there's another company which is interesting, and people who are watching the stream now can go and have a look at this on the internet. It's called Boston Robotics. They are quite forward in the forefront of making robots, and some of the stuff that robots are actually doing now. Even Elon Musk has designed his own Tesla robot. And if
"Hmm,
you go and have a look at the websites to see what they're actually doing, they're teaching these robots how to do complex tasks. So it's not just like walking in a straight line. They're doing acrobatics. They're covering boxes, carrying boxes. We're at that stage where it's almost like imagine when the first mobile phone was created, like maybe in the 70s, where you had those big boxes, and
yeah,
then eventually 20 or 30 years later, you've got to the point of the phone now being a very small piece of equipment compared to what it was. And the supercomputers of 50 years ago, what a SD card can do now in comparison to what those computers can do then. So the development in artificial intelligence has been somewhat astounding.
yeah, agreed." Well, I think I don't know about you, Gail. We've been on 34 minutes,
Mhm.
and I don't really want to go on too long on these because I think short and sweet is the way to go for people to watch the replays. I'd
Mhm.
just like to read Southern Cross out before we finish it. That's if you're prepared to finish, or if you want to go on. It's up to you, my love.
No, I think let's read the comments and let's see if there's
Yeah,
any more conversation.
yeah. So Southern Cross says, I think the risk are that many tasks, physical and mental, traditionally performed by people can and will be performed by AI machines in the future.
I
That's
absolutely agree. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with Southern Cross. That's brilliant. So before we finish the conversation, then, what do you, the people in the chat, what do you think are the positives for AI against the negatives? So, Timmy, you be careful. So, you be careful. AI doesn't turn you off and replace you. It already can though, Tim, can't it? I mean, they can. You can do talking heads in some of these programs that are around. And Southern Cross says efficiency.
Mm. Well, Tim, you might have a deep fake eagle coming very soon. So we might have an eagle avatar.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to do one now for next week.
What an eagle avatar. I think they're coming. And also think about deep fake and the ability that deep fake have. I mean, deep fake has the ability to clone your voice,
Yeah,
clone your face. You could be having, I mean, students were using it to fake sitting in front of lectures,
yeah,
which is a thing going on. I mean, students are using ChatGPT and other websites to, try and cheat the system.
yeah, yeah,
I think that AI is definitely something that could potentially replace a lot of roles and in the creative space. So
mm,
I think as creatives, for me, yeah, exactly. One can use AI to produce thumbnails, and I think for me, even though we can use AI to produce thumbnails, I think it's important. I don't know what any other people think. I think it's important to maintain our own individuality, and sometimes having all these tools available reduces, especially the younger generations, method of learning, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, everybody, I think we're going to close it there. So I appreciate everyone coming on, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's conversation with Keith and Gail. So
Thank you.
goodbye, and thank you for watching. Bye for now.